Scoopy Radio, everywhere you need to be. I am your host, Brandon Scoopy Robinson. Make sure to subscribe to the Scoopy Radio podcast on all streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn app, Stitcher app, or simply by visiting ScoopyRadio.com. Mother's Day is here, and it's only right that we bring in Karri Kuzma, mother of Washington Wizards star Kyle Kuzma. Ma'am, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So I am intrigued with Kyle deciding to donate $1 million to his favorite YMCA that he grew up playing in Flint, Michigan, where you all are from. What were your earliest recollections of watching Kyle play basketball, either there or just in general, and you knew that he was going to be a special talent?
I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, I remember when he first started playing basketball. You know, I think maybe as a parent that plays sports, you always have that dream for your kid, like, oh, my kid's going to be in the NBA. But how many kids really come through for you? You know what I'm saying? So he had the little Tykes basketball hoop in our living room. Probably because I love basketball, you know, I love playing basketball. So I wanted him to love it and play too. But when he was in second grade, he got on a Flintstones team, little tiny Tyke team in Flint. That's where he met like Monte Morris, who played for the Nuggets and plays for the Wizards now. So they went to kindergarten and they ended up just being on a team together. Well, actually, it was I think it was second grade. Nothing special or out of the ordinary there. You know, they just played. He was a little light-skinned boy. So, of course, everybody was calling him little Tayshaun Prince. So maybe they willed that into existence for him. I don't know. Yeah. They manifested it for him. And then, you know, as he got a little bit older, he started playing for a couple of teams. You know, I would work, he would go to the Y. I would drop him off. So I wasn't really there with him. But I knew he would, you know, he was playing when he was there. And then high school came around. I knew he was going to be tall, but I didn't know he was going to be almost 7 foot tall. But you know, when your kids are little, you do the height estimator, because I'm decently tall. I'm 5'11" for a girl. Mm-hmm. And all of the men on my side of the family are like, on my dad's side are like 6'3", 6'5". On my grandpa's side, he had a brother that was 7 foot. I kind of felt like he was going to be tall. So you do the calculator when they're a kid, and it said like you might be like 6'7". I was like, oh, that's tall. Mm-hmm. But now he's 6'11", so I'm, you know, pleasantly happy with that. So anyways, when he was in high school, though, he was not tall. He was like 5'10", 5'11", like he got to 6. Like I kept waiting for him to grow. I'm like, okay, man, when are you going to grow? You know, I'd give him a hug. We were the same height, and we moved around a lot. You know, that's already been out there. But his freshman year as a player, he was kind of like maybe average to below average. So it's not like I look at him and was like, oh man, he's about to be in the NBA. Now, I had dreams for him to be in the NBA. He had the determination, the will, the drive. Like the kid has a drive like I don't think anybody. I mean, there probably is, but I'm not personal enough to somebody else to know like you have that drive. But for me, knowing him, like his drive is unmatched. And like I have the same drive. I think he got it a little bit from me, but a lot of it's his own. And like when he sets out to do something, he's gonna do it. So like his sophomore year, he got a little bit better, still just average, you know, like he wasn't scoring 30 points. He wasn't, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. And then his junior year, I had met a coach. He was like, you know, I see something special in Kyle. I feel like I could work with him, you know. So he spent the summer working with him. He transferred schools again just because of that. Had we not met that coach, he probably wouldn't have transferred schools again. So he ended up playing at Bentley his junior year. You know, he had somebody that was working with him, so he did a little bit more, you know, better. Still wasn't like, you know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or whatever, but, you know, he was
He was him.
He's improving. He's getting better. Just to kind of give you an idea, like, of how, like, this kid knew what he wanted to do. So, like, even when he was in 8th grade, when somebody would ask him, what do you want to do or be when you grow up? He was like, I either want to be a commentator, I'm going to be in the NBA, or I'm going to play overseas. So, like, those were his 3. Okay. So it was like his junior year. It was almost going to be summertime. He's getting ready to go into his senior year. And, he was playing with a team called Dorian's Pride in Saginaw for Paul Carmano. And he came to me one day and he was like, I want to go to a prep school for my senior year. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Okay. A couple of weeks before his senior year, he's like, I found a school. I'm going to California. I was like, wait a minute. So, like, what's going on here? So, okay, so you're going to go. So I talked to his coach, whatever. And then, yeah, so like 2 weeks before he was getting ready to leave, like, he found a school. He'd like sent out tapes. He like did all that stuff himself. I didn't do anything, Sometimes as parents, normally some parents would be sending out the tapes or finding this or no, he did all of that himself.
Took initiative.
Working like 70 hours a week. So it's like, I don't have a lot of extra time to do all this stuff. So it was the day before he was about to leave. We just laid there and held each other and he was off the next day.
I feel like that California move was the perfect transition for him because it taught you how to travel. I remember my mom used to send me places when I was young. Like, I stayed at overnight camps in upstate where you stayed in cabins, and it taught me how to get along with people from other states, other cities. That prep school move, and then going to school in Utah, and then finding his way with the Los Angeles Lakers, then the Wizards. Like, those steps prepared you, and it all started with planting that seed, but also aligning him with the right people, and that's important.
Right. So the whole California thing, sometimes you live, you learn. Like that didn't work out. Like, sometimes there's just people who are out for, ulterior motives, and you find that out early. But luckily he did meet some good people who got him to the right connections, got him somewhere else. And then he ended up in Philadelphia. That's kind of where he finally started to grow. So he had to, mature and grow up pretty fast because of that. And then, I went to watch a tournament, I think it was in Pittsburgh. And we surprised him because he didn't know we were going to come. And when he came around the corner, man, I tell you, he grew a foot. I was just like, what? And when I gave him a hug, my head was in his chest. I was like, finally. He was like 6'4". Right. I was so happy. But that's like literally that senior year in prep school is when basically things started turning around. And, they had all the tournaments. They did like the 48 tournament is in Nevada. And that's kind of where he met Coach Kay from Utah, who took a liking to him. And Kyle liked him as well, and so that's pretty much why he ended up in Utah. But that senior year of him, going to the prep school, if he would have stayed here, nothing would have happened. He would probably be working at GM or, Lord forbid, something worse. But it was just him being determined and driven and knowing what he wanted to do and making those moves himself and just like working hard. Like, his work ethic is crazy.
I want to take a step back for a second because you talked about your interest in basketball. As I was preparing and doing some research, how far back do you recall the Pistons days, the Bad Boy era days? What was your point of entry for basketball as a fan of the game?
Yeah, so I do remember the Pistons. I was a huge fan. Like 89, 90 is like, I was a center, so I was in love with Dennis Rodman. The way he played, like, literally, that was the way I played. Like, I was throwing elbows, I was a scrapper, like, I got everything. So I saw Rodman at a Lakers game once, and I almost, like, shell shock. I was like, oh my God, that's Dennis Rodman. But yeah, so I love the Pistons, the microwave, Vinnie Johnson, Isaiah, just all of them.
You were a hooper. Did you play high school, collegiately? What's your background in basketball?
So I played in high school from 6th grade. I was a senior. Like I could have played in college. I did get a couple of offers from like small schools like Elma, St. Aquinas, Eastern Kentucky. Like there were colleges that were like interested in me, but I was really good at track and field. So I was a state champion my junior and senior year. I threw shot put, discus. And so like that was like really my favorite. Like I love to do that just because it's an individual sport. You don't have to rely on nobody else, you know. So I ended up getting a scholarship for track to Hillsdale, which is where I went. So I didn't end up playing basketball, but my career high is 18 points and 26 rebounds.
You was getting your Anthony Davis on with the 26 rebounds.
Listen, I would say something right now, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm clean.
No, I understand. No, and we're not trying to get you caught up. This is a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will ask is this. Recently, Kuz got into something with Spencer Dinwiddie where the last line of his tweet is the thing that I'm interested in, and I'd like for you to answer. One of the things he said was, if you really knew how I grew up and the things with me, you'd really rock with me. When you as a mom hear that, you think?
Exactly. Like if somebody really, really knew him, like if you're a good human being, which most people are, there are some people out there who are you're just not going to be a good person regardless. But if you're honestly a respectful person and like are a nice person, like if you knew his background, if you knew where he came from, what he went through, how hard he worked, like just overall how good of a person he is, you'd rock with him. You know what I'm saying? You would be down with him.
Do you think as Kyle's career progresses, because I feel like he's an onion and I can relate, do you think that over time people will learn more about who he is as a person? Because if you put that out there, people want to know. Yeah,
if you know, the more that you learn about things, you can make a more informed decision whether that's true, that's false. You like it, you don't like it. But I feel like the more somebody knows about his story, like you said, you peel back the layers, then yes, they're going to be like, oh man, that kid's all right. That kid's a hard worker. He's been a good kid. Like he never got any trouble when he was little,
Fast forward, right? Bubble in 2020. A lot of people, a lot of players were very apprehensive about that process. Nobody knew what the world was going to be like after the height of the pandemic and all that went with it. As a mom, when Kyle went to Orlando, were you apprehensive?
Apprehensive? No. Honestly, I thought it was like a great idea. Like the pandemic, you're secluded. I felt like it was as safe as it could be.
How cool was it to see all of the fanfare, getting this player, getting that player? Was it a dream imagined for you when you saw the Lakers win that championship in 2020 in the bubble in Orlando?
Yeah, it was exactly that. It was like a dream. Because when I think back and, him saying, if you really knew me and where I came from, you'd rock with me. I'm like thinking back like, holy shit, like that's my kid. I birthed the NBA champion. And then to think like where he came from, everything he's been through, my kid busted his ass. Like he really did it. You know what I'm saying? So that's like what was going through my head.
He did. He's in Washington. To me, he stands out because he's one of the faces of that team. What has your experiences been like in Washington? What have you gotten to know the city? What do you know about it? What do you enjoy?
Well, obviously, when I go to the games, I get to sit courtside, so that's awesome. Yeah. As far as like the city, like, I never got to go on like a lot of schools. I don't know about other schools, but where I came from, like your 8th grade trip was a trip to DC to see everything, and I didn't get to go. So for me, like, I think we went out there in December. I think it was November, December, and my foot was broke, so it was pretty rough, but we walked around the city, got to see everything, so it was pretty cool. Probably like one of the biggest like city-wise tourist attractions that I've like, well, I've been to Vegas, which is pretty big.
Mhm.
But as far as like just like a city, I was just astonished at how it was nice. Just a lot to see and do. Like the food trucks, there was like 50 food trucks. I'm like, I've never seen this in my life. Like, there was just a lot. There was a lot to see. Definitely need more than one day to see everything. That is for sure.
So we talking gyros, we talking hot dogs, we talking tacos, what we talking?
Oh my God, they got everything. Everything.
No, that's real. That's real.
Like you don't even have to go like to a restaurant. You can just go on the street and there's like 50 different kinds of foods.
You was checking out U Street, you went to Bench Chili Bowl, all of that.
There was everything there, man.
Listen, when you come back to DC, you got to check out brunch on a Saturday at Bench Chili Bowl. Is lit.
Okay, I will.
Yes. To me, I see where he gets his personality from, humor from. Where does he get his fashion from?
Oh yeah, that's not for me. So I would say like when he was younger, I wasn't buying him like Jordans. I had 3 kids. Like, yeah, sometimes you just can't do that. And did he like clothes? Yes, but he wasn't like putting things together, and he wasn't getting expensive shirts. He had like a G-Shock fake watch, like when you're a kid, you're like getting that kind of stuff. But so I always knew like if he ever had money, he'd be spending it. And he does kind of have a little obsession with watches right now. Okay. But I think that he's just always, I think if he could have when he was younger, he would have. And now that he can, I think he just likes it. That's like one of his passions. So he does it. I feel like he does it well. I feel like he does it unapologetically. Like he doesn't really care what anybody says or thinks. That's one of the things that I love like the most is like he just doesn't care. Every once in a while somebody will ask me, what do you think about Kyle's pink sweater? Or what do you think about that big black jacket? And I looked straight at him. I said, he likes it. I love it. That's the thing. Like he doesn't care what you think. He doesn't care what I think. He likes what he likes. And sometimes, he just tries things on maybe he just tries it on to like see what you do think. Mm-hmm. Maybe he don't like it. Maybe he's like, oh, this ought to get him riled up. Who knows? But and that's one of the things that I like love about him as an individual. He doesn't care what other people think. And how many people probably wish they could live like that care what other people think and say. That's like a pretty big prison to live in, so I'm glad that he doesn't.
What has been your most memorable Mother's Day with Kyle, past or present?
Anytime that we get to spend together anymore is Mother's Day to me. I might only see him, depending on when games are, I might only make it out for like 5 or 6 games. Now that might change when I can start working for the foundation. But at me working in my real job, I can only take so many days off. So that's limited right now, but maybe eventually that'll change. So pretty much anytime we get together, I really appreciate the time that we do get to spend together.
And you said you have 3 kids total. Is he the oldest, the middle, youngest?
He's the oldest. Yep. My daughter's in the middle, and then my youngest is a son.
College age?
Well, my daughter, she just started working at GM. Nice. Got her own place. My youngest is still finding his way. So, In the Kuzma household, what was playing? Probably, some R&B.
Okay.
Talking like Mary J. All of that stuff.
Dish of choice when you were burning them pots in the kitchen.
Okay. So I would say spaghetti.
Okay.
They were so picky. Pizza, chicken, and spaghetti.
Okay.
Those were their 3 options all the time.
You made mention of the fact that you were starstruck when you met Dennis Rodman in LA.
I didn't meet him. I just saw him and I was freaking out. So
okay, so you saw him. So rewinding to kind of remix on this question. During Kyle's time in LA, what are some meaningful interactions with folks that you either grew up admiring, respecting, that you got to see during the LA years?
Jeannie Buss.
Okay.
That's always pretty special. Like she reached out to me on my birthday, and still told me happy birthday. So like I really appreciate that. Ralph Sampson. Like I've had some pretty cool interactions with like people like online as well, like Twitter, like Flea, Halsey. That was at the Bubble. Not Flea, but Halsey was at the Bubble. We got to drink wine together, and she made a post, and I love her too. So every time I went to LA, I was, you're meeting somebody.
Kuzma was a hot commodity during this season. He played his tail off. You talked to his peers, KCP, in an interview I did with him, told me he was really impressed with what he did. Felt that Kuz should have been an all-star. Bradley Beal told me that he felt the same way. Is it, as a mom, both annoying, and is it also cool to have seen his name in so many rumors during the season?
I don't say it's either, to be honest. I know that he's in the NBA. Like, I know he plays for a team. I know that the NBA is a business. So I know that there's always going to be good stuff, bad stuff, true stuff, false, just everything. So I try not to feed too much into it. Just like sometimes I might have a family member and say, oh, they're talking about trading Kyle, and do you think it's going to happen? And I'm just like, we don't know, whatever, whatever happens. So, I don't put too much into it.
How has your life changed because of your son? Do you have to move differently? Are the requests and demands crazy? How have you had to move differently or change?
I wouldn't say that I've really changed. I wouldn't say that like the requests are like overwhelming, but there are a lot of requests, like people wanting things or things signed, or, can he come here, or just a lot. Whereas I used to try to like appease people and try to do it, and I would ask Kyle, and the further we go on, it's like I just don't ask a lot anymore. He does a lot. If it's something really worthwhile, I will, but he doesn't get a lot of time to relax. So when he is relaxing, I'm not going to like push something on him. My circle's small. It always has been, but I do keep to myself, like probably more now,
Outside of basketball being something that you enjoy watching, movies, TV shows, what do you like to do to unwind?
I watch a lot of basketball. A lot. So a lot of my friends always joke that I'm, worse than their husbands, because I always have like Sports Center on. I've always got a game on. I'm watching the playoffs right now. When he plays, it's like a game every other night. So,
Sure.
You're watching, I'm watching basketball, but at least he's on the East Coast now. So it's like normal time, not 10:30 to 1 o'clock. Because I had some nights that I didn't get a lot of sleep going to work when he was playing with the Lakers.
What is something, once you are onboarded and get everything straight with the foundation, that you, as a mother who raised 3 wonderful kids, would like to do with your time to better the world?
So one of the things that I'm really hoping with the foundation is just being able to do more for the community, for people, just helping them. We've got tons of ideas. It's just kind of putting those ideas into action, really figuring out a plan. But, there's always the general things like doing things for like holidays, for Christmas, Thanksgiving, back to school, stuff like that. But I also want to do more for like the community, as far as like helping people find resources to find a house, buy a house, get a job searches, interviewing techniques, like just everything, job skills, childcare, whatever, eviction notices, just being a resource for people, and just helping them in different ways. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I like that. Fresh perspective. We talked about Mary J. Blige. We talked about the humor, Dennis Rodman, and everything in between. Ma'am, enjoy your Mother's Day. and keep shining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.